Good morning, my friends. Let us begin with a few breaths, shall we? Take a deep breath in and let it go. Take another deep breath and let go. One more deep breath in and let go. I'm going to begin this morning by reading some words from Ernest Holmes. The words are on the screen, or you can just close your eyes and listen to these. This is sort of a long, convoluted statement, but we're going to spend the next 20 minutes exploring this. So we'll start here. Involution is invoking the law, setting the law in motion, giving a mental and spiritual treatment, planting the seed of thought in creative mind of the universe. Involution precedes evolution, and evolution follows involution with mathematical certainty. We deal with the creative principle of involution and evolution. Involution is the creative concept. Evolution is the time or process it takes for the concept to become manifest. Involution is a conscious act. Evolution is purely mechanical. Okay? Some of you are nodding. This is good. Okay, so we are diving into an 8-week experience that we're calling Season of Harvest. And I chose this quote this morning because I thought this lovely little talk title plop into my head that said, "Who planted what and when?" We want to look at our lives and look at how did we get to where we are, and what's the process of manifestation? What is the process of evolution and creation that we are participating in? And we're in this experience that we're calling Season of Harvest, which is going to run for a number of weeks, which is really about taking the opportunity as a community to look at what's already here, to look at the fullness that has grown from the seeds that have been planted of the many years that this community has been here, and to harvest what's here, but also begin the process of planting seeds and setting new intentions so that we can grow into what's next. And this idea of involution and evolution that Ernest Holmes is talking about, he's telling us that there's two components to the way that the universe works. That one of the components is our part. Is the part where we do the work, where we do the healing, where we set the intentions, where we do our practice, and we are doing our part. But the other piece of it is that there's some sort of powerful mechanical law in the universe that acts upon our thinking, that acts upon our thoughts. And so we can look at our lives, and many of us in this community, I know, have great stories about intentions that we've set, and then how they showed up later on, right? And that we really like to talk about the beautiful, positive, fun side of this whole thing, right? That if we set intentions, the law takes it and it just grows. It's like planting a seed in the soil, and all you have to do is just water it in consciousness, and eventually something will grow, right? And so we're living in the garden of our lives. And I think that especially in this particular moment in societal human history, it's really fascinating to look around at the garden and look at all that's manifesting around us, and the question keeps coming up to me, who planted what and when? Right? Because there's a whole lot of stuff in the garden now that's grown up, and it's like, what part of this is mine? Where did this come from? What is bubbling up everywhere? And our philosophy tells us, if you can see it, it's yours, right? So if you can see it in the world, some part of it has something to do with you, right? And we're in this remarkably interesting moment in history where all of the lines of seeds and intentions that have been set in motion by humanity over a generation, multiple generations, hundreds of years, thousands of years, that it's like, I keep having this vision that over all of human history, we keep setting these intentions. And it's like you set it here, and it just starts to roll, and it's growing, and then it kind of starts to speed up, and then it kind of and it goes up. Well, I think what we're experiencing right now is in the world of humanity casting their seeds and intentions for all of time, all of these different crescendos are coming together, right? And it's the 500 or 700 years of colonialism, right? It's the 10,000 years of agriculture. It's the Industrial Revolution. It's the technological revolution. It's the Civil Rights Movement. It's what our history was slavery. There's all of these pieces that are coming together, and they've all been these like slow motion intentions that have been moving and growing throughout time. And suddenly we're in this moment where it's all smashing into each other. And the great crescendo seems to be upon us, where everything is speeding up, for better or for worse. That everything is speeding up, everything is rising. And whether it's our conscious intentions or our unconscious, subconscious other stuff, it's all coming up through expansion, through magnification, and it's all happening more and more and more and more. And so, I think I'm technically a millennial. I'm like right in the very beginning of the millennial generation. But my generation is born with a future in front of us that the last two generations have kind of been ignoring. It was in the 60s or the 70s when the oil companies really understood carbon is going to have an effect on future generations. And a generation or two didn't really do much about it. And now my generation is born and it's like, oh snap. There is a lot in front of us. And it's like we're dealing with the manifestations of generations before us. All of us are. All of these conversations we've been having over the last year and more about privilege, about oppression, about the pandemic, about the environment, about all of these things that are rising up. And we can either say, I didn't plant those seeds, they're not mine. Oh well. Or we can realize that we're standing in the midst of the garden and there's a lot of work necessary. Right? And we have to start weeding. We have to start looking for what are the strongest stories, what are the most important pieces, what are the components that are necessary for us to move forward. And so now we're in this harvest time, right? And harvest is about everything has grown up, and now you need to start to gather all of the resources and all of the good that's available. So after service today, we're going to have a workshop at noon, which is some of you have participated in the synthesis classes already. Some of you have been hearing this word synthesis, right? What is this? And the idea behind synthesis, and I hope you come to the workshop later, is about recognizing that the thing that we all have to cultivate in this moment in history is an ability to look at overlapping ideas, right? The law of synthesis comes from literary philosophy, and it's also a New Thought principle. And it says that any time two seemingly opposing or different ideas are brought together, a third higher idea can be created that doesn't compromise either of the original two. Right? And so synthesis is a series of classes, workshops, and experiences that I've created, which is about teaching us to think in overlapping circles. Right? Because if we think that racism and the environment are two separate things, we're never going to solve either problem. Right? If we think of all the things that are happening in the world as separate, we're never going to figure out how to put the puzzle together. And the thinking that's necessary, the evolutionary thinking that we want to be cultivating, is how to think into what's next. How to see that all of the solutions, all of the possibilities that could lead us to this world that works for all that we always talk about, what if all of the answers are already here? What if all of the seeds have been planted? What if all of the intentions have been set? And all of the answers, all of the technology, all of the things that we need to fix, to solve, to build are already here? But it's about recognizing that part of it's over here with this group of people, and part of it's over here with this group of people, and part of it's in this discipline, and part of it's in this political party, and part of it's in this idea, and it's like the pieces are scattered everywhere. But there's 10,000 years of intentions that have been set that are all growing up. There's all of these different areas that we've been growing and expanding in our intellect and our understanding and our knowledge about the universe and the world and how to use it. Now it's time to start looking at what do we do with what's here? we can ask the question, who planted what? We can clearly see what's emerging. We can look back and try to find the when, the origin point, when did this all start? But the web is so complex. We can't point to any one place and say, oh, the problem started here. These are multiple lines of possibilities and intentions that are weaving together, that are accelerating the possibilities. And what if the magic that's available to us right now is that all of our possibilities could converge? And that what's possible for you, and what's possible for you, and what's possible for you comes together and creates a greater possibility for all of us. And one of the things that I do in the synthesis work is ask everyone to choose a project, one thing that you want to work on. You look out into the garden of all that's grown up, and you see one thing and you say, that's mine to do. What if each one of us could choose one thing that we felt was the most important thing for us or the world to work on right now? There's 40-something of us in this room. If every one of us chose one thing that we could dedicate our lives to, that would be 40 interconnected things that would start to change. And when you bring the multipliers together, it becomes so much more, right? And so as we move into this time of season of harvest, one of the things that we're going to be doing is inviting all of us to participate in all the different ways that we can build this template of possibility here on this acre of land in this building with these people. We want to start creating more opportunities to volunteer, to participate, to engage, to create, to co-create, because we have this beautiful vision of a world that works for everyone. We are a powerful people who knows how to set intentions and do our work, and we love to come together in community and do it. But what if we took the time to really dedicate and say, you know what, we have a guiding vision. Let's each one of us pick our piece of the puzzle, and then let's start to work on it together. And then as we each have our own intention and we're working within a group, the way that a garden works, the way that a forest works, is that all the interconnected pieces support each other. It's the microbes and the bacteria and the mycelial network of the fungus and the roots of the plants and the fallen leaves, and every little component makes the whole thing thrive. And no piece of the forest can survive without the rest. And so I want to invite us to begin to think of ourselves in this community as a thriving ecosystem. And what does it look like to realize that there is resources and potential and ideas and possibilities hidden in each person here? And every time we connect, every time we engage in a group together, every time we go into a deeper dialogue, every time we practice meditation, every time we help someone in this community who needs the support, we see our interwoven roots. We see our interconnectedness. And so I want to invite all of us to really start to think more and more and more about what is my piece of the puzzle. For this community here, what is the piece that you bring? And then out into the world, what is the piece that you see is yours to hold on to, yours to bring into this space, or yours to work on out there? Because we can sit on our meditation cushions, we can come here and chant, and we will all feel very good. But what do we do with that? Right? Spirituality without action is pointless. You know, I think it was Jesus or someone like that who said something to the effect of, faith without works is dead. You know, it's like if you have the practice and the belief and the philosophy, but you don't do anything with it and it's just self-serving, it's like, why are you here? What if we're here to bring about something more? And we talk in this space, I repeat over and over and over again this reminder that anytime a group of people focuses on the same thing at the same time, something more becomes available. Anytime two or more are gathered, there the I am is made available. We come into this space to be in that collective focus, to be expanded, to be lifted up, to be inspired, to be filled up, so that we can then be fueled to go out into the world and be the change that we want to see, to be the shift that we know is possible. but we have to bring it. And these spaces make it a little bit easier to practice, to make it a little bit easier to see how to build community, how to support each other. And even here, it's not perfectly easy. You know, it's like there are humans here that we have to interact with, and opinions and ideas and ways of doing and being. And yet, there's a safety in this thing we call spiritual community, which allows us to practice finding our authenticity, to practice our vulnerability, to practice sharing our passions with people who might be able to hear it and not go, yeah, but. Right? And so this is the place to cultivate something deeper as we awaken this idea of our interconnectedness. And this season of harvest is really about inviting each one of us to look at this community and ask two questions. What are the seeds that I want to plant for next year? What are the intentions, the seeds that I want to give to this place to support the growth of what's next? And also to look around at all that is already here, of the beauty and the potential and the gifts and the talent and the time that comes from the people who show up in this place, and realize how much bounty we have already together. And so in this season of fall, to really be in the cultivation of the recognition of how much there is here already, and how this community has continued to grow and shift and change and evolve for decades. There's so much here already. And it's time to gather up our resources and come together and begin to cultivate what it is that we want to see emerge, and to do it together and each bring our piece of the puzzle. And so I want to invite you on a 7-week journey that we're going to go through together. And Kaylee and Cheryl are going to share a little bit more about that with you shortly. And do check out the tables in the back as places that you can begin to engage and sign up and say, this is where I'd like to participate. And then if you feel so called today, do come back at noon, go get a snack and come back for the synthesis workshop, because we're going to get a little bit deeper into what is this idea of synthesis. We're going to do a little visioning process to invite each person to get in touch with what is my focus, what's my project, what's my passion. You know, for a number of months, we all said in the previous opening statement we used to have, we said each person choose a quality. What's the one quality you want to live into? And so we're going to talk about, in the workshop, about each person naming your project or your purpose. Because my vision is that someday we are a people in this community who you can walk in and ask anyone in this room, what's your one thing? What is the thing that you're passionate about? What is it that you're working on? What's the shift that you're making? What's the quality that you are seeking to live day in and day out? And that we started to share with each other, this is my one thing, and this is my one thing. And then we started to see that all these one things together add up to a whole lot. And see that there is actually a community here who's doing great work with each other in this place and in the world. We just need to know what each other's passions are. Right? And then in the workshop, we're then going to take that project and bring a whole new lens to what your prosperity and resources look like. Because oftentimes in spirituality, especially in New Thought, you kind of get one of two parallels. Either one, we just say, God is money and it's amazing, hooray! Or we say, God is abundant and it's everything, but we don't talk about money. We get one of the two, right? And what we really want to look at today is, okay, if you have a passion and you have a purpose and you have a focus, there is an entire spectrum of resources that surrounds you. And it's many, many layered, and it's many, many things. And if we can shift our consciousness around prosperity individually, looking at the resources we have available to us to do the work that we feel called to do, we can then begin to recognize that as a community, we have so much more than we ever thought we did. But it takes a shift in perspective to be willing to look at overlapping circles and see that there's more here than meets the eye. And so if you will, take a deep breath. I'm going to invite my practitioners and ministers to stand, and if you will, surround the room. We can hold this space. And I invite everyone to take another deep breath in. And if it's comfortable, close your eyes. And as you breathe, I want you just to be with me in this awareness that we are each individually being breathed by something greater than ourselves. That indeed you are being breathed by God. You are being lived by the universe. That in fact there is only one of us here, and we all call it I. The I am that I am is the I am that I am becoming, is the I am that each one of us is becoming. And so let us realize that we are part of a universal process. We are part of the involution and evolution of life itself. That each one of us is the place where we make the attention, where we plant the seed, where we focus our minds. And then we give it to the universe, to life, to community, to nurture and support and grow that idea. And so what I want you to do is to take another deep breath and rub your hands together. Take a deep breath in. And then bring those hands apart. And maybe you just feel a little buzzing or tingling. And then place your hands out in front of you like you're reaching out to touch someone else's hands. And just take another deep breath. And in this moment, I want you to just feel that there is a deep intention, that there is a purpose, that there is a longing or a calling that is standing right in front of you, saying to you, come be me. Come be me. And imagine that standing right in front of you is the you who has said yes to your highest possibility and to your deepest work. And imagine for a moment that you can feel their hands touching against yours, their eyes looking at you, reminding you that there is so much more that you could be, that you could do. And so they whisper into your heart and mind, come be me. Come be the one who says yes. Come be the one who lives into this quality. Come be the one who takes the step and lives into their passion and be the change they wish to see in the world. And so place your hands on your heart and take another deep breath in, knowing that each one of us can enjoy the beautiful fragrance in the garden because we took the time to plant the seed. That every one of us is throwing our pebbles into the pond and sending out ripples of possibility. And so I just again speak a word of gratitude this morning, remembering that there is indeed a power for good in this universe that is so much greater than we are, and yet it is who we are. Let us live and love in service to this idea and allow the Spirit of the living God to be alive in us. Let us each be the place where God shows up. Let each of us be the place where evolution is happening. Let each one of us be the place where possibility reveals itself into the world. And may we grow into this idea that there is so much more here than we can see. But if we're willing to begin to look, everything necessary to the full and complete expression of the highest possibility is waiting right here, right now, to be chosen and participated in by each one of us. And so for all of this and so much more, I just say yes. And invite you to declare this with me by saying, and so it is.